Hello, everyone. Once again, live from Los Angeles. This is your host, Young Brando. You must have noticed something
Once again,
different.
live from Los Angeles, this is your host.
Oh, guys. Amateur hour again. Sorry about that. You must have noticed something new about the channel's name. We are going corporate, as you see, trying to find some coherence, some unity between different social media platforms. So I decided to use the same name that I use for Instagram, which has been changed to this name. Let me show it for you right here as well. And I think it is time that I give up my title. It's time that I give up my title and become who I really am. So this is it, Young Brando on Instagram, Young Brando on Twitter, Young Brando on YouTube. We are still going strong. We're past 1,000 in both. Next target, as you know, is 5K. And I have some very sinister plans for that, which we'll talk about today. As you know, my friends Eric and Jack Carlson of Rowing Blazers just came out with a cracking collaboration. With these four watches that they put out there with Seiko Watches USA. I'm hearing that the black one is already sold out, which is great because I got one of each and two of the blue one. And I'm not going to say anything concrete before they all make it here, before they all come here, before they arrive. But there is going to be a surprise connected to the channel. So stay tuned right here. Um, Make sure that you're subscribed to me here and to the Instagram account above young.brando, and you'll be the first to know about what is going on with these watches when they arrive in Los Angeles. Um, I think it will be something nice for the holiday season and certainly something good for the channel as well. I think it's a very tasteful collaboration. The cases basically measure 40, but as you know, Seiko usually has at whatever price range good enough of a case design that they wear well. So probably wear more like a 39 than 40. These are Seiko 5s, of course, as is the new norm when it comes to Seiko and their entry level products. And they come in four different dial colors with a customized case back that basically commemorates this collaboration with these candy stripe slash buoy um, second sands, and of course the rowing blazers co-branding at 6 o'clock as well. They're all on a bracelet by default, but um, comes also supplied with an extra NATO strap that goes with that particular set of colors. Hey Van Lux, nice to see you, man. That will be Zin Ista for those German speakers. That covers a few different things. Of course, you would have to conjugate it properly, but Ista is a nice river. So this collaboration basically builds on two previous things. Most immediately, of course, just last year, the dynamic duo Jack Carlson and Eric Wind had collaborated already with Seiko and released this trio of watches, and they were largely about the bezel colors and designs in each case. I think they were still exciting, um, and still offered something new, something different. This time around, I think they came up with something that's a little more special, that's a little more interesting visually, that offers a little bit of a different value in that segment. Um, Before I forget, also, unlike most of um, Seiko's offerings for the USA, the bilingual date wheel in this particular model, in this particular limited edition, is actually English and Japanese rather than English and Spanish, which is the standard fare for Seiko watches USA releases. So they come in blue, this orange, which has a very strong vintage Seiko diver vibe. And we'll just circle back to that in a second. A kind of mint green or pistachio green, as well as a black one, which is already sold out apparently, that has these index markers which look like nautical flags, which of course in turn fits well with the Rowing Blazers theme. Now, the other inspiration they had, other point of departure that Jack Carlson and Eric Wynn had, was this vintage Seiko diver that Eric Wynn had supplied Jack Carlson, who is the founder and still the chief designer of Rowing Blazers. So they basically took from it the chaptering, right? That which looks like an inner bezel in the modern one, but is really not. It simply serves as a minutes and seconds track. And of course, the index markers, as well as the colors that were carried over into the new Seiko 5 design. But this was the inspiration. And this is the new Seiko 5 that just came out earlier today. I think on rowingblazers.com, they still have three of the four watches available. So feel free to migrate over there whenever you like, whenever you can, and grab yourself one while you still can. Again, I put my money where my mouth is and got one of each, and actually two of the blue. And I have some interesting plans for four of the five, which we'll see. Um, Probably something in connection to the channel and the Instagram account. So feel free to subscribe on both and continue following me on both to keep abreast of all the updates regarding these watches and where they might end up. Yes, I really do love those dials, Bezos. I think it's great work for them. You know, of course the black fits well, and I'm glad they use those nautical flags theme only on the black. I also appreciate that they took a very specific inspiration from a vintage diver piece and used that orange, which fits in with a lot of what Seiko produces these days in the Seiko 5 segment. But they also did something something new, something different with both that's baby blue and pistachio colors as well. And of course, the orange can fit with the seasonal theme too, since it's Halloween. It's the pumpkin spice latte season. I'm sure people will go crazy about that as well. And predictably, of course, the most universally appealing, the most mainstream version of it in black with the nautical flag index markers is already sold out. But hey, stay tuned and I might have something for you. And yes, just to again, just to be as open as possible, both Jack is someone that I've known for some years now, and Eric I've really met through this YouTube channel, but I count both of them as friends, so I'm not entirely dispassionate and as objective as I am when I'm judging their efforts. I genuinely like them, but I should present that caveat always that they're friends whose work I deeply respect. So there is perhaps a tinge of uh, commitment and affection and friendship in my judgments as well. But I think these are beautiful watches, priced right under $500, right? 495. Very good deal. They're for sale at growingblazers.com. They are for sale on Seiko Watches USA. I think they're also for sale um, at the Hodinki shop, if I'm not mistaken. Possibly. But here's the link. All right. That being said, um, there was a little bit of an auction update that I wanted to share with you. As we mentioned, a lot of these auction houses these days constantly have something going on, right? They have their seasonal auctions in the spring, in the fall, in the usual locations, which are usually Geneva, New York, Hong Kong, and sometimes also London, depending on whatever they have going on, whether they can, in a way, piggyback on a strong curation of some modern art or something very specific. In this case, the online auction model, as well as even have running really a watch shop with set prices has done wonders for a lot of auction houses. Philips basically has something they call Philips Perpetual, which has, I think, an actual shop now in their Geneva uh, location. And they constantly have watches listed for Philips Perpetual on the website. And a lot of other companies run these online auctions that are timed and that you can basically join in from wherever you are in the world and place some bids in a way that's a little more familiar perhaps for a lot of people who have been using similar online auction websites for just about everything else, and also for watches, especially eBay, of course, being the usual suspect when it comes to that. So we had a particular curation here in Dubai, and the Dubai edit seems to be weighted a little bit towards um, some gem set watches, a lot of interesting jewelry like pieces, but also some other usual suspects as well, and a few Cartier too. Um, but there are some interesting results, right? For example, lot one was this RM 034, Richard Mille, which is a stylish titanium and carbon TPT automatic ladies watch. The estimate was 150,000 to 270,000 US dollars. And actually, the price realized didn't even reach the lower end of the estimate. Right? You might still say the watch is sold. You might still say that's a lot of money for a watch. But having just come um, out of an era where any Richard Mille was basically easily selling 150, $250,000. I think again we need to recognize that the prices have been dipping for a while, and there's a good chance that they will continue on this downward trend. So this is Richard Mille that actually sold but failed to reach the lower end of that estimate. Hi, Bruce G. Thank you. So then we have a trio of watches here before we come back down. Lot two, which was a Cartier Annuaire Crash, which has this diamond set bezel. Unique design, reference 3714. The estimate was 60 to 80,000. Wasn't sold, right? Didn't reach the reserve. Reference 2899, which is another instance of the crash, a different take on the whole theme. This was estimated to sell somewhere between $15,000 to $30,000. Again, it did not sell. It did not reach the reserve price. Number four was again another tank, basically, but a very specific one, diagonal divan diagonal. That was a reference 2779. Again, the bezel set with diamonds, 10 to $15,000 of estimated value, and it did not sell. We have two Cartier Baignoire Allongé, which again has that kind of bathtub like shape with beautiful cellular kind of guillochage for decoration on the dial. Very unique elongated Arabic numerals, made in France. This sold for $10,080. That was a reference 2605. I think very unique, very beautiful piece of design. Very feminine, I have to say. But I'm sure it appeals to a certain kind of taste. I keep saying this, Cartier, love it or hate it, when it comes to the point of design, they create, whereas others simply produce for the most part. Right? When you look at a lot of major brands, they have one, at most two different icons and they keep making the same thing over and over at this industrial pace and level. And Cartier, by no means, is, of course, an independent manufacturer. They're not, uh, most of the time, they are not high horology, but from the standpoint of design, they really bring some beautiful pieces into this world, and really, even with designs that you might not enjoy, there's usually something about the level of detail, something about the decoration, one aspect of the watch that always pops out and gives you a different look. And Bagnouard is that kind of design. I would, uh, yeah, you would have to kill me to see it on my wrist, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And again, another Bagnouard, this time a reference 2606, sold for the same price. This one has the Roman numerals rather than the Arabics like the last one. That's hidden Cartier signature at 7 o'clock, made in France. Again, a very elegant piece. Once again, sold for 10,080. A very nice Vacheron Constantin dress piece with a lapis style, white gold on its matching bracelet. Uh, the pain with a lot of these pieces is the fact that these bracelets are usually cut to fit the owner, and chances are they're cut a little bit short. Now, it's not an impossible fix, but it's not the most utilitarian, most um, easiest, so to speak, fix either. And that makes them a little less desirable. That makes them a little bit of a harder sell on the secondary market. But there are some beautiful pieces to be found with these bracelets that match the material of the case. This time, of course, we have a 34 millimeter, perfectly round dress watch case in white gold, and kind of a snakeskin effect on the matching white gold bracelet as well. And really a gorgeous lapis dial. Lots of texture there that makes it a beautiful, beautiful piece. And as you see, it sold with a price that was closer to the lower end of the estimate than the other way around. So once again, it's probably it went to someone who would appreciate it, who already liked it, and who got a good deal on it. Of course, the added advantage, that was a hand wound watch, just like this one. Again, another dress piece, this time with a kind of elongated, or a kind of how should I put this, bloated, let's say, square piece. Again, the texture of the lapis, I don't know if that was necessarily a conscious choice, but it probably was. In a way, reflects the gold case, right? It's as if you have a blue dial largely that was sprinkled with some gold flakes. In this case, of course, you have a yellow gold case with matching hands for the hours and minutes, and lapis lazuli dial, but it kind of fits together beautifully from an aesthetic standpoint. This one actually did not even sell, right? A hand wound 70s dress watch in 18 karat gold and with a lapis lazuli dial. It didn't even sell. You have these pair of Nautiluses, the reduced size 3800/5, which is the gold version set with diamonds on the center links as well as the porthole bezel. The index markers are also diamonds, so a little bit of extravagance there. Something that was not necessarily desired just 5-6 years ago, but something that now sells, and it's sold right in between, right in the middle of that estimate, which I think is again actually um, a good gauge. It is an anecdotal uh, evidence point. It's an anecdotal data point. It's just one auction in one set of watches that were simply sold online. But it helps us understand that the hype still carries certain pieces and helps them realize prices that are still a little higher than how the other pieces perform in this market, right? So I wouldn't take it strongly in one way or another, but my experience has been, my observation has been that the trio of hype watches, so to speak, the holy trinity of hype watches in Patek Philippe Nautilus, Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, and the Rolex Daytona, by and large, still retain values that are multiple times the retail pricing of a new model. Nevertheless, they have also experienced certain price drops. And I think when it comes to the oddball references of those watches, the ones that used to be less desired just a generation ago, like the precious metal ones, like the jam set ones, I think they will continue to come down. But that's just my guess. It's not an investment advice, but I think a lot of these watches that were selling really for their scrap value before things got hyped up are not going to stay at those price points forever. I'm not going to say that they will come all the way back down to where they were. Uh, the mid-sized Royal Oak reference is a great example of this. I'm talking about the 14790 that you can find in steel, that you can find in two-tone, etc. And they used to trade for anywhere between $3,000 to $8,000 just 5 years ago, depending on the seller, depending on the configuration, depending on the dial color, whether it was steel and blue dial or just a two-tone, so on and so forth. Nowadays, they are at $20,000 or so when it comes to the two-tone with the original dark blue dial, and they will continue to fall. I'm sure, they will still be appreciated because people have waken up to their existence. So I'm not expecting them to drop all the way down to 5K anytime soon, but they're not going to stay at 25, 30K, which is what they were in certain examples in March, and about 20K now, which is how they're selling for the most part at this point in time. So if you're looking for a Nautilus, a Royal Oak, a Daytona in a less desirable configuration, whether it's mid-sized for Royal Oaks and Nautiluses, or precious metal on a leather band, for example, from a generation or two ago when it comes to the Daytona, the 5 and 6 digit references, you can certainly afford to remain patient, afford to wait until February, if not longer, and you'll find more watches and better deals. Again, I'm not divining into the future, but this is my speculation. Take it with a pinch of salt. But I think so far we have been pretty consistent in our, pardon me, forecasts of how things are shaping up in conjunction with the financial markets. Pardon me. I mean, this I wanted to show you as well because, again, these kinds of pieces were unsellable on the secondary market 5 6 years ago. Now they're almost touching 5 digits, right? This is a quartz two-tone royal oak, the same mid-sized uh, appearance, the same dimensions more or less with the 14790. In this case, the quartz one is of course a little thinner than the 14790, but not by much. Still, for the right person, it can be an interesting watch to wear. It can be something, um, even an heirloom piece. Hey, it's an interesting watch for sure if you are fine with quartz. But these are also experiencing a downward trend, and I think that's what we will keep seeing in the coming weeks and months. And there was there at lot 10 a 3900J, which is the 33 millimeter version, so properly lady size with a white dial, plain white dial, which I think is actually a nice look in combination with the yellow gold case and bracelet. It must be quartz, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and ultimately, again, you see a piece here that has immensely increased in value in the last few years, but still, it didn't go anywhere near the high ceiling of that estimate that Christie set for lot 10. Uh, and that's a sign in and of itself. A lot of these kinds of watches were completely shattering all sorts of ceilings in every single auction season. They were reaching a new high. That's not happening anymore. So again, that's in and of itself. It's an anecdote. It's a small data point, but it counts for something. We see an interesting Van Cleef and Arpels piece that didn't sell. A few jewelry pieces by Chopin that sold within the expected price point, more or less. Here we see, I think that's the most interesting example. We see an unworn 124 300, which is the Rolex OP with the turquoise blue dial. The OP41, unworn, full set, still with the sticker on the back. The estimate was 30 to 40,000. It did not sell. That must count for something, right? Chrono Tokyo's Seiji dress watch with a similar dial color, which was a hit, and I think originally sold for a fraction of that price, did sell and did actually break the higher ceiling of that estimated value as well, realizing a price of $3,780. So the hype of that particular shade of blue has not died down or died off just yet, but people are making interesting choices with their money, right? In an auction in Dubai, no one wanted to pay 30,000 or 30,000 plus dollars for an OP41 just because it has a blue dial. You have an Aquanaut Luce from the previous generation, 5067, in steel with a diamond set bezel. These are roughly 36 millimeters, so not excessively small, actually. Quartz movement in this particular case. Another watch that didn't sell, but had an estimate of $35 to $55,000. Oh, Bruce G, that's interesting. Got the call for the new Air King from my developing country, AD. Not selling at a premium these days, but I like that it doesn't have a date and a very wearable size. Well, wear it in great health. I think Air Kings are great watches. I loved them when they were simply, another kind of Oyster Perpetual and really like a junior version of the Explorer. I liked them then. I like them more then at 34 millimeters than with the current Bloodhound dial. But again, as with everything else, there's something to be appreciated when Rolex renews and redesigns something in their lineup to make for it a proper place, right? Because really, before this penultimate generation of the Air Kings, Air King as such, for the longest time, did not really have a distinct identity within the Rolex lineup. So they had to do something about it unless they were going to discontinue it altogether. So that design, which was actually connected, pardon me, with a certain attempt at setting a speed record on land, and which didn't materialize, at least not with Rolex's cooperation, got that distinctive dial from the dashboard of the Bloodhound, um, and made a watch dial, made a wristwatch dial out of it. I think it's a very interesting looking watch. Not for me necessarily. I did, for what it's worth, I liked the way it was than the very new Air King. But as always, Bruce G, wear it, enjoy it, wear it in great health. Who cares what it's selling for on the secondary market, right? On this channel, at least, we don't really care for such details. We are not buying watches to flip them, to make a little bit of money here and there, but to enjoy them, but to wear them, but to possibly pass them down, put our own stamp on them, go through life with them and make memories with them. And for something like that, I think the Air King as it is now modified, has found a proper place in the lineup, and it's as good as anything else. I love no date watches. I'm wearing one today. I was wearing something else earlier today. Again, a no date. Um, yeah, I adore the simplicity of that. For me, 5513 is where it has started. Um, that Submariner no date look for me is the epitome of Rolex's design. So when it comes to anything without a date window, without Cyclops, to me it has a certain appeal. But I know in this day and age, the Cyclops is much more of an eye-catching Rolex signature than most of anything else. So going back to watches that sold and did not sell, they also had a white dial or cream dial version of that Aquanaut Luce, which again comes with a diamond set bezel. Again, an example of 5067A of the previous generation with a quartz movement again here. Comes as a full set. Once again, it did not sell. Right, their estimate for it was $35,000 to $55,000, but it did not sell. Again, interesting jewelry pieces. Frank Muller woman's watch, basically, with a very interesting dial that is in parts enamel and guilloche decorated piece, an entire case set with diamonds, very striking crocodile strap that matches the color of the dial, a very rich shade of red. The Chronometro version, 2005, manual winding in pink gold. It was estimated 3 to 5,000, sold for almost $9,000. That was lot 21. Again, clearly someone who appreciated these watches was um, sitting very patiently or impatiently in front of the computer. And I think it's still, it's still a good deal. If you actually would wear something like that, or if your significant other would wear something like this, which I think could look very tasteful on a lady, this is a great deal with all these diamonds and the tonneau pink gold case. I would say it might hold that value. We have two Audemars Piguet pieces back to back. That 70s integrated bracelet vibe. White gold with this diamond setting on the dial that looks striated. Diamonds on the bezel as well. And that with an estimate of $10,000 to $15,000 did not sell. A similar piece, again, with an integrated bamboo bracelet in yellow gold, diamond set throughout with a quartz movement. Similar estimate this time, 8 to 12,000, and that did not sell either. Two interesting Royal Oaks in white gold with an emerald set bezel, mother of pearl dial, and emerald and diamond set, mother of pearl dial, I should say, in white gold, 56602 BC. Small size, right? 33, not even medium size, but really small sized Royal Oak in white gold with an emerald and diamond set, mother of pearl dial, emerald set bezel, estimated to sell for $60,000 to $100,000. Did not sell. A similar piece, again, with a quartz movement, white gold, small sized case in 33 millimeter with the integrated bracelet, of course. Mother of pearl dial set with diamonds and sapphires at the quarters, sapphire set bezel. That had an estimate of $70,000 to $100,000. That did not sell either. Another Royal Oak, this time a 67-451 OR in pink gold. Once again, it is a smaller piece at 34 millimeters, this time with a self-winding movement, a silver dial with the Grand Tapisserie decoration, diamond set bezel, $35,000 to $55,000 of estimated value. Lot 27 did not sell. There's an interesting millenary, which is a very divisive design, to put it euphemistically, with this elliptical case shape. And you have here a version of it that's diamond set on the lugs as well as the bezel. A very interesting dial. Very unique piece. In pink gold, mother of pearl on the hours and minutes. And that one was estimated to sell between 15 to 25,000, and the price realized barely cleared the lower end of that spectrum, and it sold for $16,380. Another testament to how much value Cartier has been gaining over the years. This is the so-called Cartier basculante, kind of Cartier's answer to the reverso, you might say. One of the interesting uses of this watch is how you can prop up the dial when you set it on the desk. So you have like a miniature desk clock of sorts. I think it's a very appealing design. It's a very chic design. This one apparently came with a travel pouch, a Cartier Paris example. So that's always an added value, especially when it comes as a full presentation set. In this case, even that wasn't there, but still, people realize the value in it. Again, Cartier Paris, that's very deep and almost floral rosette decoration with the guilloche on the dial. Again, that's hidden Cartier signature at 6, the sapphire cabochon at 12 o'clock, this beautiful Cartier tank 2499C went for $20,160. The estimate was somewhere between 5 to 10. Again, as you can see, when it's the right piece, when there are a few people who are pursuing that piece and who home into it, home onto it in an auction, things can get out of hand pretty fast. But again, let's take it once again as a testament to the kind of value that vintage, neo vintage, and even contemporary Cartier has become in the market. It's the kind of recognition I think they had deserved with the effort they put in with CPCP, especially Collection Privée Cartier Paris, and that has put them on the map, horologically speaking. And nowadays, the CPCP pieces seem to be performing rather consistently on the secondary markets. And whenever you can pick them up at a value, at a price point that is acceptable to you, that's always a great grab. You know, I'm a huge fan of the Tortue, especially with the monopusher chronograph version. That's certainly a great watch. Another Nautilus that sold more or less at the midpoint of the estimates. Rose gold, lady size, 33 millimeter again. This is 7011 slash 1R dash 10. And that had an estimated value of 35 to 55,000. Quartz movement, again, 33 millimeters of a case diameter, and it sold for $47,880. A beautiful world time in that smaller size, 36 millimeter again, presumably a lady's watch. Wonderful guilloche decoration at the center of the dial, diamond set bezel, the tones of brown on the dial that I think plays really well with both the pink gold case and the dark brown crocodile strap. And this piece sold for $44,000, again, dab smack in the middle of that estimate, which covered $35,000 to $55,000. This was a 7130R. A Patek Philippe Gondolo. That didn't sell, 25 to 35,000 with the Reho basically diamond set. I find this particular instantiation of the gondola case very beautiful. Incidentally, I think it's a very unique shape, and the combination of that TV set case and the stylized lugs to me is really appealing. This is a little too much for me with the diamond setting and everything, but still a beautiful case design. This was a 741R, quite a small size, right? The 30 millimeter, just like those earlier Vacheron Constantin and Audemars Piguet dress watches that we were looking at, and with an estimated value of 25 to 35,000, this didn't sell either. A Patek Philippe 24, which was kind of their standard fare for a lady's watch, in pink gold on its full bracelet, rectangular design, diamond sets, dial, as well as two rows of diamonds flanking it, um, framing it. That piece also sold, barely clearing the minimum, which was $15,000. Vacheron Constantin Malte at lot 37. Rose gold case, diamond set bezel, did not sell. Right, a watch with a Geneva seal movement, even though it's positively minuscule for the case, still a nice piece. You can see the hallmark both on the case and on that bridge plate. Two Vacheron Constantin traditionnel pieces back to back in lot 38 and 37 did not sell. Bulgari Serpenti sold for sold closer to the lower end of the estimate at 18,900. A number of full gold Piaget pieces with jewelry pieces, really, with a lot of work on the bracelets and bezels. As you see, they all sold for absolute minimum, you know, in all cases but one, not even clearing what was the lower end of the estimate, but clearly also meeting the reserve price. So they sold. There were a couple of Piaget pieces that did not sell, even if they had presumably low estimates. And maybe an interesting piece here at lot 50, which is a dual time Piaget watch with a tiger eye dial. Full white gold with this unique finish. Very jewelry like finish. Comes with its box. Integrated bracelets. Manual winding movement. And this sold for basically $7,000, right at the midpoint of this estimate, which put it around 6 to 8,000. Please hit the like button if you could. I would really appreciate it. If you're watching it, if you're enjoying it, if you're learning something from it. Um, yeah, I really love this, Nick. Please hit the like button. Simon, I think you're banned, but hey, I'm sure you can still hit the like button. And cheers, man. Cheers. It sometimes pains me to see that homophobia is still strong, and especially strong in this community. But I have I have no problem with people calling me names, as you know. I will invite you to Los Angeles, I will invite you to slide into my DMs and proposition me properly in my DMs. Wine and dine me first before you make any assumptions about my sexuality. So follow me on Instagram, hit the like button, follow me on Instagram, slide into my DMs. I'm sure we can meet up and, I'll take care of you. Yes, I do. I actually do love this piece. This is like a very 70s watch. Um, kind of a thing that you would like to see again on a remake of Scarface. It's that kind of watch, and it's really the kind of watch that you wear not even necessarily to impress anyone at this point, because it's not the 70s anymore. We're half a century away. Um, but it's that kind of I couldn't care less about what you think. Um, that's the je ne sais quoi attitude that it exudes really, and the dual time is not a bad function. People love the tanks that have that setting, in more of a vertical um, execution, and I think this is a great one. And the tiger eye dial, of course, is very beautiful as well. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I'm here for Watch Talk every day. We are going corporate, as you have seen, now with a single identity, single name, with our online branding. It's Young Brando, and you're all welcome on this channel, wherever you come from, whoever you are, whatever your sexual orientation is, wherever in the world you might find yourself, you're welcome here. And trust me, we don't tolerate any sort of bigotry on this channel, which finds a very welcome and welcoming platform elsewhere on YouTube with people who talk watches, which is the real disgrace of this community. So let me take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be back with some more auction previews and watch talk. I will leave you for now with this beautiful Piaget dual time wristwatch with a stunning tiger eye dial. It's okay, Nick. Thank you for defending me. I just wanted to get some water and respond to the nature's call for a little while. But trolls are unrelenting. Apparently, I had to ban another person. But Van is fine. Nick, he just does that sometimes. Hey, Mr. P, thank you so much for being here. Now that I got monetized, now that I crossed the 1,000 threshold, I wanted to come up with something that's a little catchier than untimely meditations and something that covers all the bases. I know I'm getting old, but hey, in a couple of years, maybe I'll just drop young, or maybe by now I'll find yet another name to shapeshift and change identities. We'll figure it out. But for now, I think this will serve us in good stead. Speaking of collaborations that bring together the worlds of menswear and horology, the founder of the Armory in Hong Kong and New York City, as well as the owner of uh, Drake's of London, Mark Cho, has basically consigned a significant part of his watch collection with Philips, and it's going to be an online auction again, single owner. I think there must be a couple of dozens pieces, but for now they have only highlighted, pardon me, about five of them, um, which which is a shame because we can't really see them all yet. But there have been uh, a few viewings. It already passed through New York and London, and apparently in November there will be viewings of the watches on the second, third, and fourth, and fifth and sixth as well. And there are a few very interesting pieces. There's this Langewan Soirée, which is a very uh, relatively rare edition of Lange, especially on that, matching yellow gold beads of rice bracelet. I think in seven or nine rows, that beads of rice bracelet really gives it a strong vintage vibe, especially because the handling is so straight and it doesn't, it's not form fitting. It certainly doesn't fit flush to the case, and really has a very cool vibe here. Um, I really like it. I like it when people match, by the way, these sorts of dress watches um, with beads of rice bracelets, even when they are relatively modern. I think it was Auro Montanari who has worn his Laurent Ferrier with the sector dial on a beads of rice bracelet, which looked very tasteful. Let me see if I can dig up um, picture of that. I think it's just cool because as it stands, the piece is very Lange One as a piece is already really vintage inspired, um, vintage uh, driven, has its own vibe, uh, kind of a blend of vintage and modern, uh, contemporary and traditional and ultimately really kind of a retro futuristic approach to design. And I think that beads of rice bracelet works really well with that Langewan Soirée, which has that guilloche decoration that you can only see now in the reduced size Langes in the 36.5. But as far as I know, the reference 110 or 30 should be the full size, 38 and a half. So that's a very unique piece. And here's that special Laurent Ferrier with the sector dial. That was an addition for the rake, and it was inspired by this Patek Philippe pocket watch. And here's the way that Auro Montanari wears it. And it's actually not any random beads of rice bracelet either. That's a proper Geffrère vintage beads of rice bracelet. In his case, he chose something with fitting and links. Still looks cool, but I think that gap in and of itself is quite appealing to me aesthetically as something rather different. So this is one of the watches that will be sold as part of the beauty in everything. Beauty in everything. Mark chose special collection of watches. Langewan Soirée, reference 110.030 in white gold with the matching beads of rice bracelets. There's a very unique 3800, which is a mid-sized Nautilus that he is also consigning with Philips. Comes with a certificate of origin, so you can rest assured that this is not a custom job. It's not something that was done aftermarket. Since it's so rare, I'm sure some people may have thought that. So this fixes that sort of doubt. Beautiful sunburst, slate gray kind of dial. Dauphine hands, again, not something that you see on a Nautilus every day. Jumbo or reduced size. And of course, centrally deployed seconds hand, which was not present on 3700, of course, the original Jumbo. It's very unique. I'm sure this is the one to look out for in terms of what it can achieve on the secondary market. I'm not expecting it to, come up with an earth-shattering price necessarily, but it will probably sell for more than your average 3800, because again, this is a very, very rare configuration that I have not seen on a Nautilus ever, not in this combination. So there we are with the Grand Seiko Elegance Spring Drive Snowflake, which was also part of his collection. This was one of those limited editions. It's in platinum, boutique edition, where the platinum case is finished with a texture that is meant to go with the dial. One of 30. This is apparently number 12, roughly from year 2019. It's a Grand Seiko Elegance Spring Drive Snowflake boutique edition in platinum. I think, again, this is a beautiful piece. As you have seen, none of these are, mind-blowingly extravagant, um, extremely rare pieces necessarily. All are really unique takes on what are past icons or what are in the process of establishing themselves as icons in horology. And Grand Seiko, of course, has a major footprint in this conversation, especially since they have um, they have energized the U.S. markets for almost a decade now. The snowflake, of course, as well as their dial decorations, finishes, and patterns go, has already become the stuff of the legend. And this is a limited edition of that. Uh, but it is really beautiful in its simplicity, in that monochrome aesthetic of the dial and the case, that simple touch of the heat blued second sand that is centrally deployed, and the strap is beautifully chosen as well to pick up that flash of blue from the largely monochromatic dial and really turn it into something quite beautiful and dressy. This is a Elegant Spring Drive Snowflake Boutique Edition, reference SBGZ001 in platinum 1 of 30. We have this recent collaboration. We have a product of their recent collaboration with H. Moser. It's an Endeavor Small Seconds Total Eclipse. These were released earlier this year and basically sold by a kind of lottery where you would put your hat in the ring and be granted perhaps the privilege to purchase them. I think it's actually, that's not a bad method at all when it comes down to it. I don't think it's a bad method at all. I get frustrated a lot of times with limited editions that sell at the moment of their release, that are sometimes sold out to family and friends before they even go for sale in public. So I actually appreciated the way they have done it. Um, and again, you know me, I've already said a lot about this. I really do like and appreciate H. Moser from my own aesthetic standpoint, from my own visual appreciation, more when they do these sorts of classic, traditional looking pieces. Here again, you have elements uh, like the small seconds, like the Breguet hands, that are very well within the wheelhouse of traditional horological design. But of course, everything else from that uh, Eclipse dial, as they named it, the beautiful contours of their case, as well as that conical expression of the crown, adds the modern touch that H. Moser always brings to their designs. I think this was one of the interesting collaborations of the year. I hope more comes from H. Moser and Armory as a project. And I think this is also meaningful because, as far as I know, Mark Cho is planning to put the money that will come from this auction back into his business. So, all the more appropriate that he is willing to let go of even one of these examples from his personal collection, because he's much more interested in what he can accomplish in the future with his company, and more power to him. This is an H. Moser X, the Armory 2002 Endeavor Small Seconds Total Eclipse. The reference number, if you want to check it out later, is 1327-1200. It's It's a stainless steel piece, very much contemporary expression of the dress watch genre, very elegant, but also daring in some of its elements of expression. Limited edition, of course, already sold out, and it will actually be available in this online auction that will open for bidding on November 30th and will go until December 6th. Hey, Mookie, nice to see you, man. Yes, yes. I think this is this particular Moza Endeavor is like a museum piece. Like you said, it's very minimalist in its expression. Um, probably, it's probably gonna go for an exorbitant price because it's already sold out and it's been a limited edition that's not gonna come back. But I think at the price they offered it, it wasn't marked up. It was just like any other H Moza Endeavor. So okay, I can make that happen. Peeping time. I think they should still have these on their website. So let's see. They had more pictures there. Let's take a look. So they basically had two versions of it, both with the Vanta Black dial, right? That total eclipse style. One uh, in stainless steel entirely, including the dial fixtures, and one with a stainless steel case and 5N pink gold accents. So, and a different execution of the two tone. It, yeah, the presentation suffers a little bit from macro shots and artistic presentation, but there we go. This is the, this is a close up of the dial with that pink gold accents here in full stainless steel against the Vanta Black. Here the two iterations of the model next to each other on a nice woolen cloth with pinstripes, very tasteful. A cardigan peeking out here. 38 millimeters, which again is not an option that Moza offers as often. I think, in fact, the center seconds version of the Endeavor is, I want to say, 40 millimeters, 40. So this is kind of a reduced size of that, which is nice, which is something unique. Here's how the case looks from profile. Here's how the movement is finished. Right, very unique ribbing motif. And I appreciate that, right? After all, H. Moza is not in Geneva, so they are not spellbound to decorate the bridges of their movements with Geneva stripes. They're in Schaffhausen, so they can do something different. You have the power reserve indicator on the back, which some people prefer. I think in this watch, it's absolutely a great aesthetic choice because the dial itself is such a unique aspect of this watch's aesthetic expression, it would have been a shame to um, just put some sort of power reserve indicator off center. And yeah, apparently it was a limited edition of 28 pieces. I think 28 pieces each, 28 with the steel, 28 with the pink gold accents. And the one for sale is the one that is all in stainless steel. And it's also less than 10 millimeters, apparently. Um, Less than 10 millimeters in thickness as well. So a very elegant dress watch. I think even better in whole in stainless steel, full stainless steel without the accents. But again, it's so discreet to have just the rejo and those drop index markers and the hands. I think that's very discreet and still very tasteful, even when it's in gold. And apparently they sold for 26,000 US dollars, both editions. It was sold by lottery. And apparently they asked you at the time, which was late January, to put down a full deposit, and you were promptly returned the deposit if you were not one of the lucky 56. So as you see, it wasn't an excessive markup, something that added unique value. I don't think they had in their contemporary lineup of endeavors something in 38 millimeters. I don't know if they had something with just small seconds, just time only endeavor with small seconds. I'm not even sure if they still have it in their lineup. And certainly they didn't have an endeavor with a Vanta Black dial. So that's an interesting piece. And hey, must have been difficult to part with for Mark, but I'm sure there are bigger and greater things to come for him after the sale. I think he opened like a second location in New York too recently. So it's good. He's growing, he's expanding. And here you have the 36 millimeter case, one of the most beautiful expressions of a perpetual calendar by Patek, 3940. Mid 80s model here. In fact, it says roughly 1987. Certificate of origin and presentation box. This is reference 3940 in yellow gold, Patek Philippe perpetual calendar with a German dial. And as you can see, of course, the ring for the months, the difference is minimal. You only have the Mai spelled with an I, of course, rather than May. And you have Mer for März. And the quality of picture is not brilliant, but you can still see the umlaut there. Of course, the days are where the difference comes into sharp focus. You also have the moon phase at 6 o'clock, the leap year indicator sunken in there in a concentric circle within the months, and a 24-hour indicator again sunken in there for the pointer of the day of the week, and a pointer date around the moon phase as well, with the Dauphine hands, just a very classical and beautiful expression of the perpetual calendar by Patek. To me, I like it more than the 59 series, whether we are talking about 3970, which is the perpetual calendar chrono from this generation, or 3940, which is a perpetual calendar pure and simple. I really do like how much of a watch that Patek fit into this simple, classically designed 36 millimeter case. It's really a thing of beauty. And unfortunately, this is it. These are the 5 watches that they decided to share with us for now. Um, Here is the link to the auction. I will send it here. And to bid online, you can already register. Of course, the bidding doesn't start until the 30th. The watches apparently were already shown at the end of September, early October at Philips's New York location. They were shown in London too about a week ago, and they will be shown in Geneva during the first week of November. And I'm sure Thomas Perazzi here, who is the head of watches in Asia, can field particular questions. If you're asking for a catalog, they have an email for that as well. Maybe they can provide at least a PDF version of it. That being said, I should probably send an email um, to them myself and see if I can get you all a catalog in advance so we can browse through every single example, because I'm pretty sure it's not an auction that's limited to just 5 lots. Yeah, let me send a link to that page as well, Nick. Sure, was was great. Um, Also, I think we are joined by a lot of people in the UK. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. It really helps. It gives me that a little bit of exposure. Again, subscribe if you haven't. We're here with Watch Talk on a daily basis. Since the auction season has been coming up, um, has in fact already opened for the fall. We have done a lot of auction previews. We have checked in the earlier portion of this broadcast with some results of online auctions. Um, but in the past, we have covered in Eichen, we have covered Bonhams, we have covered Christie's, Sotheby's, and we'll be covering much more in the coming days and months, of course. By the end of this month and end of the first week of November, we'll have much to discuss in terms of tangible results coming in from the auctions. As I always say, the you can never look at a single auction results and decide on where the markets are going, but by looking at them comprehensively in the way that we have been doing here, we can certainly sense trends. And it's been also very rewarding for me, and I hope for everyone else in the audience as well. This is always a way for me to study some of the best or simply better examples of very desirable watches. You can, of course, always do that online and in the catalogs, but you see now that a lot of these auction houses are taking advantage of the fact that they have become global, and they literally tore a selection of their curations from one city to another. Um, and oftentimes they have a they have basically a trading post here, they have a location here, they have a location in New York, they have a location in Geneva, they have a location in Hong Kong, they have a location somewhere in the Gulf. So a lot of times, wherever you find yourself in the world, if you are close to these metropolitan centers, there is a chance that you can hit an auction preview in person and actually experience these watches firsthand, um, look at them in this hands-on manner, through a loop, examine them to the smallest, most minute detail, and study them. That's really helpful always. When you look at the auction circuits, you also start realizing what is desirable, what counts for proper aging and patina, what borders on damage, if not outright abuse of a vintage watch, how these pieces are valued, whether something seems to be falling out of fashion or is becoming recently hyped up. All these kinds of insights you can simply gain by closely studying auctions season by season from this at once from this comprehensive bird's eye view, but also when we home in and look at each and every one of these examples. And when I discuss larger auctions that have hundreds and hundreds of lots, I always send a link to the chat, so you can always send back a specific number for me, and I will look at that particular example for you. Rob D, it's so nice to see you. Welcome. And Nick Butter says, bookmark the link. Thank you. Supporting the new channel brand with Super Chat. Hey, man. Thank you so much, Nick. You have always been extremely supportive, and I appreciate it, really. It means a lot. Thank you, Nick. That was $10 from Nick Butter. And once again, Rob, welcome to the channel. I was going through quickly about some lessons that we keep drawing from the auctions, but the general insight so far has been very simple, right? We are certainly, with the coming recession, entering an era in the world of watches, in the secondary market for watches, uh, a moment which is much more than a correction, right? The prices on most watches have already dipped significantly, certainly not in the range of 20% as a lot of the traders who are also YouTubers kept saying. And usually the way they present data is, of course, from the very first quite skewed, because they basically direct you back to their websites or websites that sponsor them. And obviously, when they say the price has only dipped 20%, and make you look at their own website, it just means they discounted it for 20%, and that's fine. But as time has gone on, as basically half a year, 6 to 7 months have passed since the first inklings of this crisis that has seen us plunge into a post-pandemic recession, uh, something that was also triggered and perhaps affected by the current geopolitical climate as well. Suddenly, we have seen all watches, but perhaps certain very desirable hype models literally plunge in terms of their valuation, which was showing all the signs of a bubble, quite honestly. So we are seeing now in the first auction season properly uh, hitting after these crises and after the recession. We are seeing that the market remains affected. Some people will keep saying that the prices are stabilizing. I know people whose opinion I really do respect who are saying that. I respectfully disagree. I think the prices are going to continue to dip uh, with the usual disclaimer. This is not investment advice. This is just a recommendation that you remain patient, that you um, remain studious, that you sit back and learn more about the watches that you're aspiring to acquire. And my my guess is that there will be more watches on the market and better deals to come by uh, already in the first quarter of 2023, perhaps even before the end of the year. And we have seen some incredible deals that seem pretty hard to pass up for a lot of people. Um, so with that being said, guys, I think, let me see if the professor is coming anytime soon. I might I might simply call it a day. I know it was a late show, but it's been almost 2 hours, and I do want to save some content for tomorrow. With all due respect, um, but if you have any last minute questions, if you want me to address something before I end this broadcast, feel free to send in something with a super chat. I'm happy to stay on and discuss whatever you would like. I have also mentioned earlier in the broadcast that for the sake of consistency, for the sake of remaining kind of unified all across the platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. This channel is now called Young Brando Watches and Style, or Watches in Style. It's kind of a pun. Not very smart, but it kind of works. And I have given up my aristocratic titles, and from now on will simply be called, humbly be called, Young Brando. Um, I appreciate you all. Follow me on Instagram. Remain subscribed here. Tell all your friends. The main platform for me is always YouTube. I have just acquired one of each of this limited edition Seiko 5s. There will be something in the works over the next coming months that involve these watches. So stay tuned. If you are a subscriber here, And if you follow me also on Instagram, you might be able to get a surprise before the end of the year. But I don't want to speak too quickly. I don't want to speak before they arrive, before I can hold them in my hands. But we'll go from there. Stay tuned for the updates. I really look forward to celebrating the holiday season with you, celebrating the fact that we have come already so far on both platforms, having only started in February. It's been a great ride so far, and I know we have so much more potential to grow. So send the links to your friends, spread the word, uh, tell them about the content, share a few videos that are your favorites, and stay tuned on both the YouTube channel here and on Instagram for some exciting updates for the holiday season. I will see you tomorrow, earlier, hopefully, 8 p.m. my time, and we'll have another marathon as always. And until then, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out, and I'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.